Hello, and welcome to Cemetery Stories Capital Connections Edition, Season 4. I'm your host, Capital Eric, and I'm a tour guide here at Sacramento's Historic City Cemetery, as well as the California State Capitol Museum, a unit of California State Parks, just up the road. Today I'd like to tell you a little bit about one of our permanent residents here at the cemetery, someone who was connected in life or in death with the state capitol. Follow me. If it weren't for Amos Catlin, I probably wouldn't be standing here. Not in Historic City Cemetery, probably not even in Sacramento. You see, Sacramento was not always the state capital of California. In late 1849, the California Constitutional Convention was held in Colton Hall in Monterey, which had been serving as the civil capital during the decades when California was under Spanish and Mexican rule. Should it remain in Monterey, with its long history of being California's civil capital? Or did a new governing power require a new capital? If so, where? Several cities vied for the honor, but the question was answered in Article 11, Section 1 of the 1849 State Constitution. The first session of the legislature shall be at the Pueblo de San Jose, which place shall be the permanent seat of government until removed by law, provided, however, that 2/3 of all members elected to each house of the legislature shall concur in the passage of such law. Unfortunately for San Jose, the prestige of becoming the capital also helped make it impossible for the city to hold on to such an honor. Once the news got out, prices of land, goods, and services skyrocketed as land speculators and others looking to make an easy buck off of the new government descended upon San Jose. Rooms became scarce and legislators were forced to sleep on dining room tables or any makeshift bed they could find. The Capitol building was not built as a capitol and lacked the necessary space to house the government. The abnormal amount of rain that autumn didn't help endear San Jose to the legislatures either. The competition among cities to become the capital began anew as it became clear that San Jose did not satisfy the needs of the government. General Mariano Vallejo, former head of the Mexican Army in Upper California, made a very generous offer of 150 acres of his land on the Carquinez Strait, plus detailed plans of the new capital city of Vallejo. The legislature accepted his offer in 1851, with the understanding that General Vallejo would be able to complete his grandiose plans. Due to the scarcity and rising costs of labor, construction stalled. The legislature temporarily moved to Sacramento to give General Vallejo time to fulfill the contract, but he was unable to do so. In 1853, the legislature took a chance on Benicia. In 1851, when it became obvious that San Jose might not be the capital much longer, Benicia began construction on a brick building to serve as the capital in their attempt then to win the honor. It stands today at the corner of West G Street and First Street and is now a unit of California State Parks. As you may have guessed, Benicia didn't last long as the capital. Construction concentrated on the Capitol building, while other infrastructure needed to maintain the home of government remained lacking. Once again, foul weather soured the legislature on a city, and once again it was decided to move, and in early 1854, Sacramento was being seriously considered to become the new capital. Why Sacramento? Unlike the brand new cities of Vallejo and Benicia, Sacramento had already been built as a city for a jumping-off point for miners on their way to the gold fields. Sacramento had infrastructure, homes, businesses, hotels, restaurants, entertainment, and a street plan for future growth. Sitting near the confluence of the Sacramento and American rivers made it a hub of transportation and communication. Sure, Sacramento had its share of disasters, fires, floods, disease epidemics, but with all of its advantages, how could these things make Sacramento any worse than anywhere else? Amos Catlin saw the potential of Sacramento as the permanent capital of California. Perhaps it was because he was serving as one of Sacramento's state senators at the time. Maybe it was because he had investments in the local Sacramento Valley Railroad or the Natoma Water and Mining Company. There is always the chance that he truly felt that Sacramento would make a superior capital of California. Catlin was born in Red Hook, New York in 1823. He studied law and practiced in New York State for 4 years before the promise of the gold rush brought him west. At nearby Mormon Island, he continued his law practice while picking up mining and eventually entered politics, being elected to the state senate in 1852 as a member of the Whig Party. He would later serve in the Assembly, the State Board of Equalization, and as a Sacramento County judge. It was during his term as a state senator that he, eventually, won Sacramento the honor as being the new capital of California. It wasn't easy. Despite Sacramento's advantages I mentioned earlier, and a general desire of the legislature to move out of Benicia to somewhere, anywhere, Sacramento was not a done deal. A number of obstacles slowed the process. Bribery, although not involving Catlin, was charged. Amendments were proposed to make the bill unpalatable to those legislators who would otherwise have supported the removal to Sacramento. Consideration of Catlin's bill was delayed by a Senate investigation into an unrelated bribery charge connected to the election of David Broderick to the United States Senate. And of course, careful consideration was taken comparing the cost of moving to Sacramento versus staying in Benicia. It took Senator Catlin no fewer than 3 tries to pass his bill through the legislature. But on February 25, 1854, Governor Bigler, also buried here in City Cemetery, signed Catlin's bill to make Sacramento the permanent, so far, capital of California. That's not the end of the story, of course, but the account of the several structures that have served as capital, with an O, buildings here in the Capitol, with an A, City of Sacramento, is best saved for another time. While John Sutter Jr., buried in a prominent position near the cemetery's front gates, is well known as the founder and planner of the City of Sacramento, Amos Catlin, who died in Sacramento in 1900, rests in a not-so-prominent place, the little-known founder and planner of the capital city of Sacramento. Well, that closes the door on another episode of Cemetery Stories, Capital Connections Edition, Season 4. I'm your host, Capital Eric, and it's been my pleasure telling you a little bit about Sacramento's historic city cemetery, as well as the California State Capitol Museum, a unit of California State Parks. Now, while unfortunately the state capitol remains closed to public tours during the pandemic, the cemetery remains open for a solitary stroll or some quiet contemplation. Keep up the social distancing, wash your hands, because it is better to be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. Hope you enjoyed watching today's episode. Goodbye.